Update. Wife 36 female wanted open marriage. After I 38 male started dating, she wants to add more rules. What would you do in my position? Original post. 2.5 years ago, my wife Sarah 36 female asked me to open our marriage. She strongly implied the alternative was divorce. After thinking it through, I said yes, primarily because we do have 2 children. I worked long hours, and divorce sounded horrible. So I set up some ground rules. Not bringing dates into our house, no dating mutual friends, acquaintances, family members, colleagues, keeping things private. For the next 2 years, I focused on my job and on my kids. I worked long hours. Little free time I had, I devoted to my kids. I didn't have the time for dating, so I wasn't even trying. I moved to another room because the thought of Sarah sleeping with another man than sleeping in my bed felt horrible. Our relationship became purely transactional. We became partners at raising kids. I didn't want to know anything about her intimate life. This summer, I managed to fulfill my financial goals. I do not have any debt whatsoever. Both of my kids have enough money in their college fund, and all I have to do is to keep adding some savings every month into the fund I made for their first home deposits. So I did some math and decided to cut my work from 74 hours to just 30 per week. Sarah wanted to get indebted again to buy another house and a new car. I said no. I used my free time to finally have a vacation I really needed. Took my older son with me to tour to the US together. Did some renovation work in our house, turned basement into a man cave. Starting working out, play sports, leading a healthier life. Then I actually started trying to land a date. For me, just hooking up with somebody is not my thing. I want to at least be a friend before that. To go out together, watch movies, have fun, and be intimate. So I dated a couple of women and found a Jane with whom I clicked. With Jane, I was going out to concerts, art galleries, comic cons, movies, and we would boink too. Sarah wanted to talk about my dates. I said no. Then I caught Sarah snooping through my phone and we had a very strongly worded argument. Now Sarah wants to update the terms of our open marriage. She wants us to repair our marriage by going to the counselor. She wants us to sleep in the same room, to go outside, and have fun together. Our outside of marriage relationships are to be strictly physical and nothing else, and we are to talk about our partners. I told her that I'm content with the situation as it is, and I don't mind if she finds a partner to go out with. I encouraged her too, and I don't want to talk about our partners. She's holding her ground. At this point, I'm split between trying to fix our marriage and handing her the divorce papers. I need an advice, guys. P.S. I just wanted to add that I only started working 74 hours a week after she decided to open our marriage. Before that, I was working around 50 hours a week. Wasn't spending my time at bars and clubs either. Helped with chores as much as I could, and I was being home and available every weekend. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Just get a divorce already. They've been divorced, without the paperwork or the physical distance. They've both been emotionally checked out for years. You two didn't open your marriage. You ended your marriage 2.5 years ago to become roommates and co-parents. That's all the 2 of you are now, but neither of you seemed to care about that until you got a girlfriend. You didn't find a partner, you found a relationship. That scares the heck out of your wife because she's reading the writing on a wall. That's exactly what happened. His wife wanted partners and never thought he would find a girlfriend. With all the hours he was working, she probably didn't expect him to find a partner either. Now that he's opened up his side finally, she's unhappy/jealous. Should have divorced her when she wanted to open up the marriage. Her plan was for her to fool around, not you finding a girlfriend. I'm really glad that I didn't divorce at that point. I grew up in a very poor family, had a smarts but couldn't afford a college. Had to struggle from the beginning to actually make it. And I don't want my kids to have to go through that. By staying in the marriage, I could keep working hard while still seeing my kids. And I could save enough to give them a chance in life with free college and going to save for their deposits as well. So I actually do not have any regrets about that decision. I understand that part, and good for you for recognizing the cost of divorce. Heck of a job by you to put your kids and their security first. Another part of putting your kids first is modeling healthy adult relationships. If you and your wife are peaceful at home and the kids are relatively in the dark about your bedroom life, then fine. But I have my doubts, especially now that your wife is not the only one dating. If the home starts to become tense and a battleground, divorce eventually becomes a kindness to give those kids. Boys figured out something was off when we started sleeping in separate rooms, but I just couldn't keep sleeping with her. Still, up to this point, it wasn't a tense home. My only regret, not being able to spend more time with my kids. But hey, can't have it all. In turn, they will never know what student debt is. Now, this home is turning into tense battleground, and that's something I do not want for my children. Your wife is a hypocrite. You are emotionally numbed out. You agreed to open up the marriage upon her request, which was a really terrible idea. That would have been the time to do the work you both should have done to fix this. Marriages get stale from time to time. She needed to turn towards you, not put her emotional energy into new dick. Sorry about a crass language. I don't mean any disrespect. But you need a wake-up call. You do not have a marriage. It's a business arrangement now. So what's the point? Pretty sure you know the answer. Good luck, OP, and I hope you find what you're looking for. Your wife is a hypocrite. You are emotionally numbed out. Yeah, recently I noticed that too. Things which used to drive an emotional response from me are now leaving me feeling nothing. My friend died. I went to his funeral at all and didn't feel anything. Just felt like crap for not feeling anything. Nobody notices because I act the emotional responses. Have been planning to see a therapist. Thank you. This isn't a marriage. You two are nothing other than partners in the business of your family and have been since she decided to open the marriage like that. Credit to you for the work you've done, and I'm sure that having reliable support at home for the kids is why you were able to work 74 hours a week. But this isn't a romantic partnership and seems to have not been for a while. Also, I totally understand the line you've drawn around not wanting to hear from your wife about it. She wanted to open a relationship, you let it happen. She wants to turn it into a shared kink? Nope. 14 hours Monday to Friday, 4 hours Saturday. I couldn't pull that off without her taking care of most chores and kids. Yes, by keeping things private, we became just partners in business. I don't care about my business partner's life. Now for the update. Me and my wife Sarah had 2 sessions with a couples counselor. Counselor was being very dedicated and professional. However, Sarah kept making demands which felt very unreasonable and unfair. She wants to keep an open relationship, which is only about the physical act. She doesn't want to find a job and keep working. She wants us to buy a new house. In every variation, she stubbornly wasn't to have 2 out of 3 of these things. Today during the counseling, she threatened divorce. After counseling, she said counselor was taking my side and wanted to change to another counselor. Although I think counselor was just trying to be fair and find a compromise. I had a talk with a lawyer and started divorce proceedings. She will get the papers in a couple of days. I will give her 2 months to start earning on her own. After that, I'm not giving any money whatsoever to her anymore. Divorce is definitely your best option. Good luck. Big time. When I read his original post, it was very clear that OP's wife was only concerned with her own wants, not what is best for their family. I'm glad he's putting his foot down on this. Some people truly believe the grass is greener, not realizing it's green where nurtured. My grandpa used to always say the grass is always greener, but you still gotta mow the damn lawn. Good for you. I don't see what you got out of the relationship at this point. She seemed like a gold digger, to be honest. Now with Jane, don't rush into anything, I would say. Take things one step at a time. Get to know each other well before either of you get hurt or you end up in another failed relationship/marriage. She wants and wants and wants. Nowhere did I see anything like she realized what was going to happen. That's because she doesn't care. She's using him. Last story. Update. Am I the a-hole for being upset my wife, we're currently separated, didn't tell me she was diagnosed with cancer? Original post. My parents were well off and worked hard, but they were neglectful towards me. By the time I was 10, they decided I didn't need a nanny anymore and that I didn't have parental figures. They spent all of their time and energy at work and didn't have time for me at all. When I met my wife, she was a vibrant, intelligent, caring woman. She would give you the shirt off her back. We spent hours and hours together talking about everything and anything. But it slowly died down. She would come home from work, crawl immediately into bed and watch TikToks for the next 3 hours. She wouldn't engage, would barely do anything. I only did chores sometimes and ended up paying for someone to do her share. She would always say she's tired and then stay up all night sometimes or sleep for 18 hours. It was awful to see her glued to her phone or her computer instead of engaging with me. So I asked for separation. It was really hard because she cried and begged me not to. And I still loved her, but being with her was like a flashback to my parents. We both knew that separations basically always end in divorce. An old friend of my wife's recently reached out to me and cussed me out. She told me that my wife had cancer and how dare I leave her during a tough time. I had no idea she had cancer. I asked my wife why she hid it from me, and she said that I was divorcing her and she didn't want to guilt trip me into staying or be manipulative. I asked her how long she had known. She found out 3 weeks after we separated. I told her she should have told me, I noticed her hair seemed thinner and she just seemed frailer overall, but she brushed it off as just stress. Honestly, I'm really upset that she didn't tell me. Do I have a right to be? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Okay, I'm getting a super weird vibe from the part where you compare your probably sick and stressed partner to your absent parents. But whatever. You're the a-hole. You told her that you could not live with the way she was. Whether she was being lazy or stressed or had cancer back then too, you didn't want to take over that care for her. So why would she tell you? She needs help and care, but you already told her with your actions that it is not something you wish to do. That weirded me out a bit. I mean, she kept telling you that she was just stressed, and you couldn't even say, I don't know, you seem different. Can I help you with anything? Maybe you should see a different doctor. I'm worried about you. Nothing? He did though. He said he made her go to the doctor many times, and they found nothing wrong, and the wife refused to go again. What else should he have done? Bruh, my wife essentially underwent 180 physically and emotionally. Huge red flag. I pushed her to go to the doctor. They said she was just lazy. WTF? Somehow this correlates to my absentee parents. You should have gone to therapy for that already. Anyway, so I left her. Good. She deserves better. The wife's condition to me sounds way more like mental illness than physical ones. Once you rule out a physical cause, your next step should have been psychiatry. Of course, any doctor says someone is lazy isn't worth listening to in my opinion. Sounds like they may missed the cancer when it first started. Edit. Only now did her hair start to thin and she looked weak. She looked obviously ill. For 3 years before that, she wouldn't get out of bed and alternatively sleep through the weekend and stay up on weekdays. I did all of this chores, but she felt guilty and hired a housekeeper for cleaning. I did all of the cooking. What I saw was a profound disinterest in me. She didn't want to do anything with me. She wouldn't go on walk with me. She wouldn't go out. She would just read a book or just lie in bed watching TikToks. Her daily screen time was 14 to 16 hours. I made doctor's appointments. I cooked food. I tried to get her up. At some point, she just wouldn't even entertain going to the doctor. After years of her telling me that there was nothing wrong with her, doctors saying she was lazy, and blood tests showing no issues and still lying in bed, I was tired. If we had known that her body was shutting down, of course I wouldn't have left. I just wished she actually went to the appointments I had set up before I asked for a separation. I am going to help her any way I can. Now for the update. I talked to my wife. I called her and asked if she wanted to talk. She said okay. When I came over, I noticed that nobody has been over in at least a few weeks. My wife is a clean person, so there wasn't a mess, but it was clear that she was doing it on her own. I apologized for everything. I asked her why she didn't tell me about the cancer. She said that she felt guilty because she thought we would go through all the effort and find out she was just lazy, and I would resent her. Then she thought when we separated that she could just go to a few appointments to show she was physically fine, but try to change on her own to stop being lazy. Then she found out that she had cancer. She felt really bad because she hadn't gone to any appointments I had made. She felt guilty because she knew I would come back if I knew, and she didn't want me to sacrifice for her when she had dismissed my concerns for years. She sobbed and said that she really felt like she was just being lazy and tired like before. I asked her what she was talking about. A few times during school, she had these intense periods of being really tired and unable to get out of bed. Her parents took her to a doctor, but there was nothing wrong. It wasn't caused by anxiety and she didn't feel depressed, just incredibly physically tired. Her parents and doctor dismissed it as laziness. I don't like her parents. I said it didn't sound like laziness. It sounded like a real medical issue. I'm going to help her figure it out, but to me, it sounded like an autoimmune disease or flare-up. I told her that I always believe her. I believed her when she said she was just lazy after 3 years of trying to get her to a doctor. And I would have believed her if she had been honest with me and told me about what she went through as a kid. She just kept sobbing, and I comforted her. After she cried, I checked her fridge for food. There were only a couple of things in the fridge, including some frozen food I had dropped off before. I asked if she wanted me to go grocery shopping or come over to my apartment for some food. She chose my apartment. I grabbed a few things for her and I took a laundry basket of dirty clothes to wash. At my apartment, I drew her a bath and cooked dinner for us. She didn't have any clean pajamas, so she wore mine. Then we had dinner. She kept saying thank you and I told her she didn't have to thank me. She's my wife. Of course I'll take care of her through cancer. She said she made me do all of the chores before too, and she didn't want me to go through that again. I told her that she was sick and tired, and I can do everything again if she stays honest with me about how she feels and doesn't dismiss it as her being lazy. We ended up cuddling, and she fell asleep pretty quickly. She's been asleep and awake through today and yesterday. She's been a bit clingy to me and she looks a lot more comfortable. She's probably going to stay in my apartment, so we'll have to figure out how to break the lease on hers. I'm not going to divorce or abandon her. She needs a lot of support. Damn, being dismissed and being told she's just lazy did a real number on her. Poor woman dismisses herself so no one else does. I'm glad you stuck with her and got her to talk about it. It must have been so difficult for both of you. Hopefully she'll enter therapy and work through that damage she internalized. She was so afraid of being rejected and called lazy that she tried to go through cancer alone. Stupid parents. And the doctors, who shrugged and called her lazy. Reddit lost its collective mind in your last post, but you did nothing wrong, and you're doing everything right. Good job, dude. OP, has her doctor checked her for chronic fatigue syndrome? That's a real thing, in addition to her most recent cancer diagnosis. Hope she recovers, and the two of you get back on track, if appropriate. My heart, thank you for the update. You are a great husband to her. I'm wishing you and your wife all the very best, in sickness and in health.